they wanted Blair to lose her virginity. And I just explained to them that, God created the world, He created marriage, and I don't want to continue to perpetuate the lie that it's just a normal fact of life and everybody turns out okay as long as, you practice safe sex.
Actress Lisa Whelchel today on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson. Her story reads almost like a Hollywood fairy tale. Talent scouts discovered Lisa Whelchel in her small Texas hometown in 1976 as they were casting for the new Mickey Mouse Club on Disney. Well, Lisa moved to Hollywood the following year, and for the next 2 years, she appeared on the new Mickey Mouse Club. And then came her big break. In 1979, she was cast as Blair Warner in a new TV show called The Facts of Life. And she played Blair Warner for the next 9 seasons, becoming an iconic figure. Now, what many people may not have realized along the way was that underpinning Lisa Whelchel's acting career was her strong faith in God. She had been a devout Christian since age 10. In the interview you're about to hear, Lisa explains how her faith has shaped the way she plays characters in movies and on TV. Now, in 2001, she wrote an autobiography called The Facts of Life, subtitled, "And Other Lessons My Father Taught Me." I met her when she was on a book tour. In just a moment, our conversation.
We're about to take a step back and listen to an iconic voice from our recent past. It's one of over 10,000 interviews noted radio personality Bill Thompson did over a 30-year span. We think you'll enjoy it.
So here now, from 2001, Lisa Whelchel.
People had been asking me for a long time to write an autobiography, and I just thought, my goodness, I haven't even lived that long. But with the airing on Nick at Night of the shows that began last September, and before I wrote the book, even before I realized that we were going to be filming a 2-hour reunion movie. And so the timing, it all just came together, and this was the time. I also understood that the book was written toward mostly young women and in even younger women, this new generation of Facts of Life fans who have been raised in many situations without a father. And I was raised without a father in a very unusual situation because I moved to California when I was 12. So my dad was home, but he wasn't the one that raised me and guided me and took me through those teen years and young womanhood years. My Heavenly Father was the one that did that. And I just thought, you know what? Our Heavenly Father is available to any young woman who perhaps needs a father to walk them through these life lessons. And by using stories from my own life, it wasn't from a preaching perspective as much as, you know what, this is what I learned through this situation, and this is what my Heavenly Father taught me, and He's interested in helping you through these times as well.
And sometimes the learning is easier than at other times.
That's right, but usually when it's harder, the learning is even better.
That's right. Because you're very frank in this book, very, very honest. I mean, we are all human, and sometimes it takes a little while for the lesson to sink in.
That's right. Sometimes we need to learn it a couple of times.
That's right. And it gave me great comfort to realize I'm not the only one who sometimes says, "Oh, come on, God, I know better. This is my life. Just stay with me, but let me lead. I know what I'm doing."
But it doesn't keep us from trying it again, does it?
That's right. But you have so many times, and I hadn't realized how many times during your life this happened until you summed up at the end of the book, how many times you wanted to go this way and God was pulling you this way. And there's been a lot of what we might call coincidences in your life that really aren't coincidences at all.
No, they aren't. I don't remember who said this, but I heard that someone said, well, don't you think it's just coincidence that all those things happened? And the man responded, well, I can only tell you this much. When I pray, the coincidences are much more often.
There is, Patti LaBelle's book out right now. She has a chapter called "Coincidence is the Word God Uses When He Wants to Remain Anonymous."
Oh, what a great line.
Yes. And reading this book, it really makes you wonder. I mean, there are people who would say, oh, sure, you just happen to be lucky that somebody at Disney said, all right, come on out and audition.
There's no way you can just be a 12-year-old girl pulled from, little small town in Texas and get on the new Mickey Mouse Club and move to California, which changed my whole life.
A big part of your book is timing. And everything has, there is a season to everything and a time for everything. And that sometimes doesn't fit with our own timetable now, does it?
No, God is usually much slower than I would want.
At the outset of the book, you say it's not strictly an autobiography, but neither is it a kiss and tell about facts of life or anything like that. It's certainly not a Hollywood kind of book. What would you call this kind of book?
I would call it a collection of stories from my life and how my Heavenly Father has been a very practical parent in my life. Illustrating in such ways as who to marry, how to raise kids, how to invest money, how to lose money, how to diet, how to get through puberty, how to survive the first year of marriage. All those lessons that we go through that God is actually really interested in being involved in if we'll just invite Him, and He has something to say about them.
And the invitation is a key.
Yes, it is. If we continue just to try to do it on our own strength, then that's about as far as we'll go, is until our strength runs out. But if we ask Him for guidance, he can see a lot further down the road than we can. And what's nice is He also is looking from a really loving, fatherly point of view. So He's going to guide us not in the way He just wants us to go, but in the way that's best for us.
Now, when He guided you to the person that you ended up marrying, why didn't the marriage turn out to be just a bed of roses and just total bliss from day one?
Well, because I still had a lot of growing to do. And it was within marriage, especially those first few years of marriage, that I was changed, and I needed to be changed. And unless there's something to cause us to change, we won't.
Again, you're very honest. The first years were a little rough at times.
Yes, and I'm a different person because of those first years. If I hadn't been in a situation where I knew that I couldn't get out of it, I guess I could have, but it wasn't an option for me, especially with 3 children in diapers at that time. I wouldn't have been forced to change, and I would still be running the show in our home and in my life. And I'm so thankful that I learned that not running the show is often the better road to take.
You are a person of great faith, and I mean that in both literally and figuratively, because at one point you talk in the book about how you sensed that God was telling you to take everything off your plate, and then He will put back on it what He wanted. Now, that is a tremendous leap of faith. For most, even very faithful people are going to say, well, all right, come on, you want me to cut off everything that I'm doing? Even the stuff that's good, that's for you? You want me to cut off all of that?
It probably would have been even more difficult if I'd known how long He was talking about. I kind of thought he would have me take everything off my plate, stop everything I was doing, which was working, and it was speaking, it was taking any kind of lessons, acting, singing, whatever. It was to stop everything. I kind of thought this maybe was for a year, a short period of time, and it ended up being 12 years. And if I had known that, it may have been a little tougher. But then again, I may not have learned the joys of just being a stay-at-home mom and the thrill of pouring all the gifts that God had given me that I assumed were for one purpose, pouring them instead into my family and reaping the blessings that come from that.
Of course, if you had known it was going to take 12 years, at least you'd be happy in the knowledge you're going to live for at least 12 more years.
There you go. Look at the bright side.
I'm not going to get hit by a bus.
Right.
After this short break, Lisa Whelchel explains what being a role model actually means to her.
Are you enjoying this conversation so far?
And would you like to get a copy of the book we're talking about?
Just tap the link in our show notes or visit our website, heardeverything.com.
When you make a purchase through our affiliate links, you're also supporting this podcast.
And we thank you for your support.
Now back to my 2001 conversation with Lisa Whelchel.
As you know, being a veteran of many movies and television shows, the whole idea when you write a story is the main character must be different at the end of the show than they are at the beginning of the show. It's the metaphor for life, isn't it? I mean, God takes you and you have to undergo a change, and you may not, since you're the main character in His novel, you may not understand what the change is, but you do have to come out a different person at the other end.
I didn't think I was so bad to start with. But I guess that was probably the part of the problem that needed to be changed.
I had to laugh out loud when you said that you wish you could tell people that at age 10, you were sitting in your jailed cell and that's how you found God, but that's not the true story now, is it?
No, I have a very boring testimony. I went to church because I wanted an excuse to wear a dress, And I kept coming back because they served donuts and orange juice in Sunday school. So, it was the love of Jesus that hooked me, but that's not what got me there.
It was those donuts.
Yeah, that's right. But what's wonderful about the Lord is He will use anything to get us to a place where we can receive His love. I found the Lord when I was 10 years old, and I think that God, He knew what He was talking about when He said for us to come to Him like children, because I had no idea what I was getting into. I didn't know anything about sin or even that I was a sinner, and I really hadn't sinned that much at 10.
Yeah, what can you do by age 10?
That's right. All I did know was that Jesus loved me enough to die for me. He wanted to have a relationship with me, and all I had to do was receive Him. And so in my childhood naivete, I said, I'll take you at your word. I believe you. I'll receive you. I'll give you my life. And I'm so glad that I did.
Now, the term role model has been very overused. I think it's lost all its meaning. But you understood from a very early age, apparently, that you were indeed a role model, and it shaped how you behaved as Blair Warner.
Yes, I always understood that a small town girl from Texas doesn't just get plucked out of Texas and into Hollywood without the hand of God on her life. And so I've known it was a gift, and I've known it was to be used responsibly. And so you're probably referencing one of the chapters where I talk about they wanted the character Blair to lose her virginity. And I just explained to them that, God created the world. He created marriage. He created us and kids. He has certain ways that He says makes life work. And I don't want to continue to perpetuate the lie that much of television does, that it's just a normal fact of life and everybody turns out okay as long as you practice safe sex, because that's not the case.
You understood that you were not just playing a role. They said, oh, come on, it's just a part. It's not you.
Right. And, well, that may have been the case, but see, the part that I was playing had influence, especially on girls at very influential ages.
And you didn't smoke either, except I guess there was one episode early on where you appeared to have been smoking.
That's right. There was the very first pilot episode, and although I wouldn't smoke, they had some kind of, herbal something. I even regret giving the impression of it. But that's what I talk about in that chapter, that, God doesn't beat us over the head when we make mistakes. That He understands that we're children. We'll make more mistakes when we're younger, and as we're growing, we're going to make different choices. Say, I will make different choices 10 years from now from a more mature point of view than I am going to make now. And God has made allowance for that. He understands that as our Father. The girls that grew up watching the show are now young moms. And it was just 3 years ago that I understood the importance of my years on the Facts of Life more than just making some money and making people laugh. And I think it's because these girls grew up learning the facts of life from me in a friendship kind of role. I earned that place to speak into their lives. And so now I can speak into their lives about things I've gone through, and it's not offensive or like I'm pushing it down their throat. It makes a lot more sense about what the Facts of Life years were if I feel like I can help young moms and young women. So
how come then, given all your background, how come is it that if any of your kids said, Mom, I'd like to go to Disney because they want to audition for the new Mouseketeers, and please, you did it. Why can't I do it?
Well, I just have to say no, because I'm the mom and I say so, but also because it's just too risky. You look at child stars and you look at the odds, and the odds aren't good that you're going to turn out okay. And I think it's really a lose situation. Either my child would be really, really successful, make a lot of money, and have this blown up perspective of what reality is at, say, 10 or 11, and then where do you go from there? Because we all know that it doesn't last. Or they're going to go on auditions every day and be rejected all day long and told, you're too short, too fat, too ugly, not good enough, whatever. And I spent my life trying to build them up. I don't want to send them out to somebody else to tear them down and be rejected every day. So I just don't want to. It's not worth the gamble for me as a mom.
Oh, I also meant to ask you, referencing that TV Guide article, also made reference to the fact that when the show closed, you had made a reference in this article to a pact you guys had made to never do a reunion show.
That's right.
So what happened?
Well, Nancy McKeon's the only one that actually followed through on that promise. Her show was filming at the same time as the Facts of Life reunion, so she couldn't join us. But the rest of us were so concerned that it would just, be a bad reunion show. But when we were sent the script, I was most excited because it was so funny. And that's what I wanted. The writers even met with me ahead of time and said, we really want Blair to have evolved and matured and grown and found her spirituality. And I said, that's not funny. I want Blair to be as vain and shallow as she ever was. And I'm happy to report that that's the case.
Now, I don't want to give away any of the plot elements, but I did see somewhere listed on one of the websites that you're credited as Blair Warner.
Yep, that's right. She married Tad Warner.
The other advantage you have, if I may take the liberty to say, most people whose reruns show up on Nick at Night, when people meet them in person, they say, you don't look like your show. You're a lot younger in the show. You look exactly the same as when you were on the show. So you don't have
I appreciate that.
People, I'm sure, don't have any trouble recognizing you on the street now.
No, I am actually recognized now more than ever because of Nick at Night, and it's really cute to have the little 10-year-olds come sing the theme song to you.
Lisa Whelchel is 62 now. She and her husband divorced in 2012. Now you can get your copy of The Facts of Life by Lisa Whelchel by tapping the link in our show notes, by clicking the link in the description below if you're watching this on YouTube, or by going to our website, heardeverything.com. We may earn an Amazon commission if you make a purchase. Heardeverything.com is where you can also find my 2010 conversation with another well-known child actor, Melissa Anderson from Little House on the Prairie.
I don't think children should work. I was lucky. I had a great experience. I'm not emotionally scarred. I'm not, nothing terrible happened to me.
And my 2011 conversation with reality TV stars Michelle and Jim Bob Duggar.
We probably have the funnest house of anywhere I know.
Ted, I think we have more fun than any family I know, and I believe it because we really are enjoying our children.
And of course, we post new episodes of Now I've Heard Everything every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you can find us wherever you find podcasts. And thank you so much for listening. Next time on Now I've Heard Everything, it'll be the 4th of July, so we'll revisit my 1999 conversation with an historian with a book about Alexander Hamilton, one of our greatest founding fathers. My conversation with Richard Brookhiser.
The two things everybody knows, which is the $10 bill and the fact that he was killed in a duel, are good places to start because his life was an American success story and also a very American tragedy.
That's next time on Now I've Heard Everything. I'm Bill Thompson.